lake is coming closer. Someone's getting their boat ready to go in the water. That's the marina over there. They bring their boats in, they get them ready for the season. And the water's almost up all the way. Hello everybody, welcome to our anniversary episode. This episode hopefully you're going to enjoy because we're going to cover what has happened in the past year since retirement. We retired on May 10th, I should say Michael retired on May 10th, and on the 11th we left California and moved to Tennessee. So, what do we think about being here for the past year? Did we like it? What's going on? Did it turn out as we expected? Well, let's find out. Well, here we are on the back of the porch here. We just finished eating lunch, and I just wanted to say happy Tennessee anniversary, honey.
1 year.
May 15th.
Left on the 11th.
Yep.
Arrived on the 15th. 1 year.
Wow. So we just thought we'd do a little recap.
Yeah.
Did we make the right choice to move from California to Tennessee?
I would say the answer to that is yes.
Yes, I believe we did. And we can only probably justify it by maybe thinking about what were our goals in moving here. So maybe let's just jump through the various goals that we had and talk about it a little, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think are the first goals that were met in moving here? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Finances.
Finances, yeah.
Could we afford to retire here
Mm-hmm.
versus retiring in California? We determined that with our Social Security and pension that we couldn't afford to retire in California, so that was not on the table. So by coming to Tennessee, that was probably the first question, is that how much does everything cost?
Yeah, and you can do all this research, but now it's been a year and we've lived it. And you've been keeping track of our finances and our expenses very meticulously, every single receipt. What do you think is the answer to that question?
The answer to that question is absolutely. Not only can we live here on what we have retired on, but we can put money into savings.
Put money into savings, yes, which we could hardly do there.
We're in California.
We wouldn't meet the budget, let alone put money in savings.
Right.
In California, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and things just kept going up. When we left May the 15th, things may be a little bit different now, I'm not sure, but $5.39 was a great price for gas. We shopped around before we left. Yeah. And when we arrived here, it was below $3.
Yeah.
So it's been from $2.50 to $2.70 the whole time we've
consistently,
been here. Pretty consistent.
Yes.
So that was a huge difference.
Yes. All those yearly expenses are property taxes, are car tags, all those things that you always have to pay no matter what's paid off, right? The house could be paid off, but you're still going to pay taxes. The car could be paid off, but you're still going to pay tags. So
you're going to pay homeowners insurance
no matter where you are, right?
So one of the huge benefits to being here, and we, after doing some research, we determined that by us living in the county, which is still on the outskirts of the city, it's only about 10 minutes from anything where we are. Yeah. We only had to pay county property tax. We didn't have to pay city and county. Right. And when you're in the city, you have to pay both. Yeah. So that was half of what we would have had to pay.
How does that compare to the property taxes we paid in California? So comparing the two, California and here.
So comparing the two to California to here, the last property tax bill that I had was $3,500, and this property tax is $1,100.
Yes.
And the house price in California was $340, and this house was $304. So they're relatively the same. They are, there is about a $40,000 difference, but it's nowhere near the percentage that we paid in California. So,
and you anticipated those taxes going up in California because
I did.
That house, when we sold it, we sold it for a lot more than $340.
Yeah, we did. And so if we would have stayed there, of course,
Another
they
couple.
reassess every 3 years. And so who knows what we would be paying
A couple
now.
$100,000 more.
And then our homeowner's insurance when I was there was $1,500, and then they increased it by $1,200 because all of a sudden we were in the fire zone, our zip code.
Yeah.
So here is $1,096.
Yay!
So huge difference.
Huge difference. Yes.
Our auto insurance, for instance, was 120 in the 120. I can't remember the exact number, but the 120 range, and here it's 67.
Yeah.
So same vehicle, better coverage here, actually more coverage.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because
I
we
was
have.
prompted by the agent to be able to increase our liability, I think, up to $300,000 because he said if you were in a major accident and were to get sued, somebody could come after your house, and so that was kind of like how you want to shake all that out.
And don't we have roadside assistance as well?
And we have roadside assistance as well,
which we paid separately for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we paid. Well, your mother and I.
Yeah.
Split it,
What about utilities?
Utilities? I think my most expensive utility bill here.
For electric, or what are you going to talk about?
We have electric here. We don't have gas. We had electric and gas in Lodi. Our electric bill would usually be between $300 and $400 in Lodi, and our gas bill, depending on what time of the year, during the summer it would be low, probably 60 to 90, and during the winter they'd flip.
Yeah.
And the PG.
And we were very, very conservative with the use of our electricity because some people pay a lot more.
Very conservative. People pay a lot more.
Yeah.
So when we got here, I think the most expensive bill we had in the winter was $185.
And we were not conservative.
We were not conservative. The heater was on and running all the time.
Right.
Most of the first 2 or 3 bills that I received here were like 110, 115.
I think we gotten some under 100 at one point.
I kept thinking, I had one for 89. I kept thinking, where are we?
Right.
So we don't have gas, so I don't know comparable what that is.
Yeah.
Most people out here in the county are on propane. So our water bill was $110 was the minimum when we were in
Valley
Springs.
Springs, and we normally paid around $170, didn't we?
Yeah, it was
a month.
More. Right, a month.
A month.
Here it's, I think, the largest water bill that I've had so far is $54.
Yeah.
So huge difference.
And does that include trash?
And that includes trash and sewer.
Trash and
right?
sewer, yeah.
And so the same, it's comparable. The same thing is included in the water. The trash and sewer. Yeah. So
Okay, so when we think about taxes, our car tags and our income tax would be the last financial things I can think of.
Right. So there is no state income tax here, which is huge.
Huge.
There is one in California. And then tags, I think we paid $180 the last time I recall for our tags. And we have custom tags here. Yes. Dolly Parton tags to be exact. And they're $66.
So if I didn't have those fancy license plates, it'd be around 24, right?
I think they said 27 when I was in there. I was listening to someone in front of me. Yeah, 27. So anyway, that's huge.
Yeah.
And
we get the luxury of Dolly Parton
some
tags.
of our friends said that they had moved from California and had just paid $700 for their new pickup truck tags.
No, seriously.
So that's quite a bit different.
I think Mom said she was over 200 for hers.
Yeah.
And no smog.
And no smog.
Yeah.
No smog. What's interesting too is that burn permits in California were almost non-existent. You could get them in certain conditions. Here in the county, you just call them and tell them that you're going to burn something.
You can go online,
They're like, go ahead. And,
which is kind of nice considering our surroundings that are looking so beautiful right now, right, honey?
Yeah.
Because we do trim trees, and we just were working in the yard today, weren't we?
We were.
And we even work on some of this TVA property that's behind us just to keep it looking so pretty.
Yeah. We don't have to maintain it, but we do.
We just like to.
So it's And what's interesting too here, there was one interesting nuance here that I laughed about, is that we have a small front flower bed, and so there was new plantings there when we moved in. So I went down to Home Depot to get a drip line, and I said, "Where's your drip line is it out in your, yard and garden and stuff? And the guy said, what's a drip line?
Right.
And
People don't have yard, like in-ground sprinklers, drip lines, because it rains at least once a week. Sometimes.
In fact, golf courses have sprinklers. We've seen sprinklers
Yes.
at golf courses, but I don't see any sprinklers anywhere on any property.
God does it.
And I asked about that. I said, you don't have any sprinklers? He said, no. He says, God waters the lawn here.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, I'm all for that.
Yeah, it's great. Honey, what you doing?
Well, I'm contemplating on what to do with this room, but I think that the first thing we probably should do is paint.
Paint. And we're using what color?
I don't know.
Hazel
Hazel gaze.
Yes. This
and
color.
Swiss coffee.
And Swiss coffee. Yes. So this color that I think everybody liked, it goes very well with some of our fabrics. And so let me just show you. As you know, this is a very small room. Let me see. Can I make this bigger? No, that makes it. I was going to try and zoom out. Let me just see. Okay. So we have what? A 10.5 by 10.5 room.
10.5 times 10.5.
Right. So, as you can see here, we have the room pretty much decorated other than maybe a few furniture pieces and the paint. I have a table there. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that there.
There's no room for furniture pieces.
Well, I might switch that out. I need a rug. Yeah. And this color probably isn't going to go here. I'm probably going to have to go beige. And then there's some more things that need to go here. But we're going to do the trim just like we did in the master. You can see the video on the master bedroom. We're going to do the trim there. And then Swiss coffee from there up to the ceiling, the rest of the quarter of the way. And we're going to go with all black trim, unlike the bedroom. The bedroom, we color wash the bedroom. Let me turn the light on. As you can see, we did the trim in here, and then this trim and the walls and even the baseboards in the same color. The doors, everything. But in here, we're going to keep the black because we want it to be a little bit more masculine. Shall we put all that on a bed in there? So Michael's starting to take pictures down. And yeah, we'll show you what it looks like when we're done. All right, the room is pretty much empty. We decided to leave the trundle bed and the dresser in here. And Michael has taped off the baseboards and marked the line where the wood trim will go, and he's starting to roll, and I'm going to do some cutting in. But here's the empty room. It's hard to film such a small room. It's the funnest part of painting, isn't it, honey? The ceiling. Don't you just love doing the ceiling?
I'd rather do the ceiling than
Just about anything in life, you know?
yeah.
Almost anything in life is
Almost anything.
just pales in comparison to painting a ceiling.
I was thinking painting a ceiling or having a root canal. I think the root canal.
All right, we're on to the green. Michael's taking over the cutting in part, and that's normally what I do, but he's doing the baseboards. Thank you, honey. What do you think of the green? Okay.
So when you use a paintbrush, you always want to do like what they do show us on HGTV, and you want to go like this. Not really, but I like to show it
Are
anyway.
you being artistic on the wall there? It looks like you are being quite artistic up there.
I'm being something already.
Yes. Well, I think what I see you do is cleaning your brush so that just the tip of your brush is able to have paint on it, and then you're able to cut those edges in nice and tight, huh?
Yeah.
Although it helps that we put...
And you don't want to have, ultimately, you don't want to have a lot. The one thing that I've learned is you don't want very much paint on your brush when you're cutting in. You want just a minimal amount. I mean, you think you dip your brush in the paint and you get on there and you go, but a lesser amount basically doesn't allow it to bleed through like tape or something like that. So
A good brush that comes to a nice edge and a small amount of paint is always a good thing. Yep. And in a 10.5 by 10.5 room, you constantly have to move stuff around. Huh?
yes.
All right, well, as you can see, we've got the room painted, and now Michael is putting up the trim. We don't normally hang the curtains before we finish with the room, but it's the only way for us to create privacy. Look at that pretty view. Is now countersinking it so that we can fill it and then put a final coat of paint. Almost done. Another thing about moving to a new environment is the environment.
Just
the culture, the environment. When you're going away somewhere to retire, I think we were looking for something, more laid back?
Yeah, we wanted something more relaxed. I mean, you know, we basically raised our family in Lodi. And Lodi was a small, tight-knit community, we would say. A great place to raise your kids, really family-oriented and things like that.
Yeah, much more laid back than, say,
much more laid back than,
Bay Area or
say,
something. Yeah.
Elk Grove or the Bay Area.
And we
for sure.
chose that specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we chose this area specifically for that. And when we arrived, it was like almost palatable. Like, why does it seem so relaxed? Why does it seem so relaxed?
Yeah, there's like a peace that
and
it's just a
it's
peace here.
It was hard to describe. We experienced it, and since we've been here, it literally is that way. Just the kindness, the overall, people aren't in a big hurry. They're just relaxed.
Yeah.
Similar, was Lodi's small town, and we didn't really feel the outside pressures of, say, the Bay Area, but it just was an overall sense of the community was not in a hurry. They were willing to, thank you, open the door, the politeness, the kindness. It was just evident everywhere. We have been blessed more since we've been here this year than...
Literally what you mean by is that have a blessed day.
People say have a blessed day. And
it's very Southern.
When I went into, it was very interesting because we got our tags almost right away.
Yeah.
I went into the DMV. They don't call it that here, but I went into the DMV and she said, "Which in God we trust tags do you want?" And I thought, what did you say?
That's amazing.
So that was amazing. And we see that a lot. And people are just, I don't know.
Relaxed. And
it doesn't seem to be the political climate that you'd be around every once in a while, and the tension about what's your viewpoint this way or that way. It just isn't. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it exists somewhere, but not here.
Yeah. Not that we've come across.
Nope.
All right. Well, we've covered a lot of topics. Maybe the one final thing is our little cottage in the woods on Boone Lake.
Our little cottage in the woods.
It was kind of my goal. It was really a little dream of mine was to have a little cottage on the lake. We knew we couldn't afford to be on the lake,
It was definitely your goal.
Yes.
And everything that we looked at on the lake, because we rented for the first couple of months we were here, and everything that we looked at on the lake was $600,000 on up.
On up, yeah.
You know, very expensive. And so to be able to come across this was a miracle.
Yeah.
So here we are. We aren't on the water, but we are probably 100 feet from the water.
Yes.
And
the marina.
And the marina. We're 157 steps, according to one of our friends, who said we live in a fantasy world. It's not reality.
We'll show some peekaboo views of the lake that we have.
And so we just love it. It's 1,034 square feet. And when we left Lodi, and we would have just inquired of ourselves, what is it going to take for you to live in square footage? We would have probably thought, well, we've lived in 2,000 square feet probably most of our lives, off and on, varying amounts from that. So probably that amount. And when we came and rented, we lived in 740 square feet.
Yeah.
So we were like,
we
after
can do
a
this.
couple of months, we can do this. This isn't that bad.
We were still looking for like 1,500.
We'd like to have an extra bedroom for somebody who wanted to visit, because it was just a one bedroom. And so when we found this place at 1,040 square feet, we walked around and looked and thought, wow,
we can do this.
We can do this. Let's do it.
Which is kind of surprising. So it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's a very small little cottage.
Yeah.
We'll show some pictures of it. But very small little cottage. But the most important thing was the location.
Yeah.
Yeah. We wanted a certain feel, didn't we?
Yes, we did. And this had it. This had a piece about it when we walked in. And
I think it might have been part of that being that it backed up to this beautiful TVA property. So you feel like you're in the woods, right? It has this really awesome screen porch that we're sitting in right now. So you always, every morning, every evening, we feel like we can sit in the woods, just a part of it.
That's right.
It's super quiet. Listen to the birds, all the wildlife, the water. Just having that water, knowing that water's there's just a feel that comes with that.
And our thriving marina is quite active on the weekends. They have live music on Saturday night until 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
So set it down at 9 o'clock.
So yeah, we can just walk over to dinner and somebody playing a guitar.
It's not
like big loud band or anything.
Nope.
So we feel like we're definitely a little cottage in the woods, but we're super close to all the grocery stores and the banks. We're just like 5 minutes to...
We are probably 5 to 15 minutes tops.
Anything you want.
To anything we want.
Yeah.
And they have very much similar things. There's Home Depot and Lowe's and Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A and you name it, it's here.
Yeah.
The only thing that isn't here is In-N-Out Burger. Hasn't made it.
No, it hasn't, but it's trying to. It's made it into Tennessee, but just not here.
It's in Nashville.
We have Chick-fil-A.
We do have Chick-fil-A. And so that's good.
But yeah, we've got all the various shopping, everything, hospital, airport, all that is within 15 minutes.
From the
airport.
Yeah. We're probably 40 minutes, maybe 30 to 40 minutes flight to Charlotte, which is an international airport. And so
we're in the Tri-Cities area, Johnson City.
We can kind of go where we want. Johnson City
Northeast
is the
Tennessee
medical hub. And so there's a lot of medical around here, which is nice, especially for us being retired. So
yeah, we've got everything we need. For those of you who have made it this far, woohoo! Well done! I'm busy editing. I'm already exhausted. I can't believe you've made it this far. But if you stick around a little bit more, you'll get a home tour of all the final things that we've done for spring and the final reveal of the bedroom. I know, it's just so exciting. Yeah. Well, anyways, thanks for joining us.
Well, as some of you have walked this journey with us, starting about 6 years ago, I ended up choking on a piece of chicken at a meal. And so that started a whole process of, why did I choke? Go to the emergency room, have emergency endoscopy. And then we started the process through the medical industry of like, what happened? Why did this happen? And so I did, I don't know, every swallow test known to man, 2 more swallow therapy. I did this, that, and the other. I literally tried everything. We went the allergy routes in case something was constricting my esophagus. And if it was, maybe it was an allergy. And so anyway, at the end of this road...
I mean, you literally had cracked ribs from
the Heimlich maneuver.
Yeah, I mean, emergency room. You choked basically every single meal.
Every meal, I would always try to take small bites, chew, drink like crazy, everything that I could think of to make my swallowing work.
Yeah.
And so when I came here...
This was how long?
6 years.
6 years, yeah. Every single doctor, all over Northern California.
I went to GI doctors in 2 different hospitals. Nobody seemed to come up with a conclusion. They tried everything, and there was no conclusive evidence.
Right.
So we came to Tennessee.
Yeah.
I assumed that this was just going to be my life.
Yeah.
That there was no way around this because we had pursued everything that we thought. Yeah. So I was encouraged to go to a holistic doctor from a recommendation of a friend. So I said, sure. So I went there, and as I was talking to him, he said, well, I don't prescribe medicine necessarily. So I was just going through my medical history, and I told him about this choking incident. He said, funny enough, he goes, I don't prescribe medicine, but there is a medicine that's probably been around 60 to 80 years. So this doctor that I was referred to, a Dr. Hansworth, said that he typically doesn't prescribe medicine. He tries to go the holistic route, which I was all for. And so during the conversation, when I explained my medical history to him, he said, well, that's interesting. He said, there's a medicine that's been around 60 to 80 years. He said, you want to try it? He said, it controls muscles in the esophagus. And he said, were you willing to try it? The only side effect that I'm aware of is that every once in a while, I've heard somebody say they had cramping in their legs. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yes, cramping versus choking, sure. I'll give it a shot. Yeah. So literally, from the moment I got the medicine, every meal before I eat, I take this pill. And I've stopped choking. I don't choke. I haven't choked.
It's absolutely a miracle.
It literally has changed my life.
And how much does this medicine cost, this miracle medicine?
This miracle medicine is probably $15 for 30 days worth.
I didn't even know it was that much.
Yeah.
$15 to completely transform your life. So if we hadn't moved to Tennessee, we would still be struggling with that. You specifically struggling with that.
And then you understand that it isn't just myself that is living through this frustration and this angst and this always concerned about what you're eating, but it's my entire family. Yeah. Anybody that was with me at every meal was always anticipating, did they need to jump up and give me the Heimlich, or was I going to choke or wasn't I going to choke? So everyone was on edge. Yeah. And so it was ridiculous. Yeah. But
and all those doctors, all those treatments, all those different, nobody suggested this old-time medicine.
Nobody suggested it until I got to the great state of Tennessee.
Yeah, and you don't have any trouble with the leg cramps issue?
No.
Yeah, so don't have that side effect. So that...
I don't think I have a real side effect.
Other than that twitch.
Other than the twitch that I developed.